What's going on? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about whether you should be tracking your calories or intuitively eating for fat loss. Hey there, it's Ryan with Exalted Vigor Athletics. So in order to lose fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit. However, do you need to count your calories to be in a caloric deficit? No, not necessarily. However, counting your calories can help you be more accountable to your nutrition program and helps you stay on track. Now, before getting started, I want to mention the freebie that comes with this video, which is Counting Calories 101. This free guide will give you everything you need to know to master counting calories and nutrition accountability. In order to tie intuitive eating and counting your calories, I want to relate this to an analogy, which is hiring an accountant. When you hire an accountant, you want them to go through your financial records and determine where you've been spending your money, where you've been saving your money, and ideally set you a budget for your finances. And sure, you can manage your finances by yourself, but hiring an accountant is one of the most useful ways you can hold yourself financially accountable. Now, when you have an accountant set a budget for you and you stick to that budget, you're able to spend your money on things you actually need or want rather than frivolously spend it on things you really don't need or that you just want to splurge on. And the same thing goes for a calorie accountant. Whereas the small caveat to that is most often you yourself are the calorie accountant and you have to hold yourself accountable to your own diet. And by keeping track of your diet via counting your calories, you're able to stick to your program because you are being held accountable and you know exactly where your caloric expenditure and intake is coming from. Now, intuitive eating is the equivalent of not having an accountant and relying upon yourself to hold yourself accountable to your diet. What often happens is people either progress in the wrong way or they stagnate because they aren't holding themselves accountable to their diet. And while there are those that can intuitively eat and still reach their goals, without that increased accountability that you have from counting calories, doing so is significantly harder. And while I do believe working towards intuitive eating in the long term is really great, so you don't have to count your calories 24/7, 365, it is a process to go through to be able to intuitively eat and be able to still reach your goals. Now what I want to do is introduce two different methods that take both the positives of counting calories and intuitive eating and kind of combines them into a set method. The first one is called track and sit back. Now, track and sit back is extremely useful when you have a specific goal you're hoping to accomplish, like lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks or 5% body fat in 5 weeks. When you have a very strict goal and you're counting your calories for that goal, you're holding yourself extremely accountable to that goal and you're working towards it without having any guesswork in it. Moreover, because you are tracking your calories, you will expedite the process of you reaching your goals because unlike intuitive eating, there's not really as much guesswork in counting calories. Now, the benefit of this is after you reach that goal, you can go ahead and transition into intuitive eating, which means you do get that dietary freedom that you wouldn't necessarily get when you are counting your calories. And the second method I want to introduce is track till comfort. So this method involves you tracking your calories until you're comfortable with your dietary intake and you're certain that it is actually working towards your goals. So while you're tracking till comfort is really you want to set your fat loss intake and get comfortable figuring out how you feel with that intake, how your hunger goes, how your appetite is, and then slowly transitioning into intuitive eating for the remainder of your goal. Now, what happens after this is when you decide to change your intake is you want to repeat the process again. So you want to track till you're comfortable and then again transition into intuitive eating. And because you started tracking your calories, you know that your intake is meeting your macronutrient and caloric goals, and it doesn't have as much guesswork in the process because you're not starting off intuitively eating from the get-go. So in conclusion, you can lose fat counting calories or intuitively eating. Doing it counting calories means you're holding yourself a bit more accountable and you know exactly what your intake is, whereas intuitive eating gives you a lot more leniency and freedom in your diet. So when you're trying to figure out which kind of program would be best for you to follow, you really need to sit back and kind of understand what you need for yourself. Do you struggle with keeping yourself accountable to your program? Do you need someone or yourself to hold you accountable? Or does counting calories feel stifling and make you uncomfortable? Once you've made an assessment of what you need to be successful, you can go ahead and devise your plan of attack. whether it be counting calories, intuitive eating, or something in between. You know what you need best and will allow you to achieve the success that you so crave. Lastly, I want to remind you that the freebie Counting Calories 101 can be found in the description below. If you want to get regular updates on our content, you can go ahead and like our Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And finally, I want to thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your accelerated fat loss journey, and I'll see you in the next one.